I am Israel, this is Amber, and this is To Win Begins Within. This is men's relationship wisdom. The topic of this video is the cost of a wife. Okay, cost of a wife. So the cost of a wife is like, how much money does it cost you? Well, first of all, we're going to have to get into it and how long you have a wife for. So since most marriages end in divorce, we're going to take the average and then averages of averages and come up with a number to really come up with the cost. So the typical male gets married around 30 years old, and the average gets divorced around 43. So that is a time lapse of 13 years. So we're gonna look at the cost of those 13 years, is what most average married men make in that time. So in the 13 years, from 30 to 35, they make so much money, and from 35 to 43, they make so much money. We got the average of that, and we're gonna tell you divide it and see how much it is. All right, so the whole thing is, if you get into a marriage and two scenarios is, one of them, you get divorced because that's a high probability of happening. And the other one is that you stay with them. So we're going to talk about both of those things, okay? So if it fails, because you have a 50% chance of failing, it's actually higher now. I think it's like 56% now. Yeah. I was going to say. So a lot of people don't get married, which I don't recommend to get married, because if you don't get married, you are guaranteed not to get divorced. Well, who knew? So if you fail, right off the bat, minimum, you're going to lose 50%.
You're at least half, yeah.
So the time, if you're like an average, you get married at 30, you get divorced at 43, you're gonna lose 50% of
everything that you've gained during those 13 years.
Time. So 50% minimum, minimum. Okay, plus anything that you invested. So it's like anything you invested. It's like, well, did you invest in the house? Did you have extra hobbies? Did you make some money on the side? All that stuff.
Stocks, whatever.
So the what you invested also is the time into the relationship. It's the hard work, mental stress you went through. It's the sunk costs. So it's not only money, but it's also the other things that you invested.
Sure.
Emotional and stuff, all that crap. So 50% of that, plus any, let me see here. Well, yeah, mental stress, time, energy, physical energy, all that stuff. So it's money plus all those things. Because when we say resources, it's not just money. It's also energy. It's also attention. It's also the stress you go into, the time. All that opportunity cost is all included in there. Right. So like, say when you get married at 30 and you get divorced at 43, you're really saying no to all the other options you had also. You're really saying no to all the opportunities that you could have had, traveling, meeting other women, or just alternate lives.
Job opportunities, whatever.
Exactly. So that's one of the things. So it's like, okay, how much is it that they make? So the calculations that we did is, when a guy marries at 30 to 35, they make around $60,000 a year, and it goes up gradually until you're 43. And then when you get at 43, you make around 80,000. And that's the average, guys. So if you get the averages from all those years and you round it up, it gets close to $1 million. So by that time, you have produced $1 million. And you're going to lose 500,000 right off the bat. So what I'm saying is, the things that you are going to pay for, the cost of a wife, is that you make $1 million from age 30 to 43, and then you're going to lose all that you invested in the relationship, attention, resources, energy, mental stress, plus you're going to have to make payments.
Most likely.
Because if you still owe on the house, you're probably going to have to make payments on the house when you're divorced. That's one thing, because you help them, or if you have kids, those are payments. Or alimony, those are payments. So you might not pay the house directly, but you might pay alimony. You might not pay the house directly, but you may pay child support. You see what I mean? So you lose half of the $1 million, plus you keep paying. And then you have to pay with mental stress. And then you have mental stress is like, now the house that you paid for, she has, and she gets another guy in there and go fucks her, and you have to deal with that. Or you don't like the guy she's with, and they're raising your kids. That's the mental stress. Or you don't see them. That's mental stress. Or you go to court and you have to pay for the lawyer. That's mental stress. See, all that stuff is actual payments. It's not just money. No. So we're now at $500,000 plus all that shit. Okay.
Plus, because you still have to provide for yourself too. You still need to find somewhere else to live.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like, and then you have to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's kind of like, okay, So if you get divorced, okay, so just when you get married, let's say at 30, and you get divorced at 43, and you take the average of how many times you have sex with her. So it's like saying, what is it worth it? It's like a lot of guys just marry because they're like tired of hunting, they're tired of dating,
Well, and they
they
think
want
too.
consistent sex, or they want kids, and that's the thing to do, and blah blah blah, and love wins at the end, and all that bullshit. So what happens is if you say you take an average, so like when you're 43, you're probably not even banging anymore. You guys are
Probably
sour, maybe
roommates,
once a
sexless
month,
marriage.
if anything, or once every other month on your birthday, Christmas. That's about it. And then in the beginning, you have maybe in the beginning sex 3 to 4 times a week. If you average it out, let's say 2 times a week.
Okay.
If you get 2 times a week, okay, times 52
weeks in a year.
Weeks in a year times
13 years.
13 years, which is 104 weeks. You get to have sex 1,352 times in that 13-year lifespan. Okay, if you take $1 million, no, and then divide it by 2, right? Because you lose half. Since you lost half, it's $500,000, $500,000. Okay, and you had sex twice a week for 13 years. That comes out 1,352 times. If you take 500,000 and divide it by 1,352, you pay $369, $370 every time you had sex. That's the cost of sex with a wife. Okay, and that's just for sex. If you just want to look at sex.
Right, because that's why we were saying that a lot of men try to settle down, because the consistency, they kind of let the foot off the gas a little bit. They're like, oh, I'm tired of being out in the market.
Yeah, so we have a video talking about why the delusion, why men get into marriage in the first place. So I mean, don't fall for it, guys. But
so check
that's
out that
what
video.
it is. That's the cost. And you're like, oh, okay. So it's like, what is the cost of you staying with the whole relationship, like the whole entire life, or even 65? Well, the older you get, the less sex you're gonna have. So the sex, by average, is gonna be more expensive.
I was gonna say, yeah. I was like, it doesn't even matter, because the less sex you have, the more expensive it gets. So let's say you are in a sexless marriage, which is considered anything less than 10 times a year. It's like 500,000 divided by.
That's a lot less. The average goes down.
Like that's expensive sex.
If you want to look at it that way, that's a perspective. I mean, there's other things.
Well, yeah, because there are some men that are like, well, I'm willing to pay for sex. So it's like, this is like the unspoken kind of like transaction that happens.
Yes, if you look at it by sex, yes, but there's other qualities to a relationship if it's a good relationship.
Correct.
So sometimes when you're in a relationship, like say 13 years, most of the time, like the first 5 to 7 years were pretty good. And then it became shit.
They kind of declined.
So they kind of declined slowly. So there are some good years and some bad years. So, but if you continue, the longer you stay in the relationship, the more expensive it gets.
Right.
Because if you're at 43 and the average makes $80,000, at 44 you're gonna add $80,000 on top of that. And if you continue to grow to make more money, it's gonna get more costly if you get divorced.
Right.
And the more money you make, the more tempting it gets to divorce your ass, because the golden parachute increases in value every time you produce more. Now this is the average, guys. If you make more than the average guy, you're feeding her more temptation.
Right.
So think about it. How would you put this scenario in temptation? So let's say you have a clear briefcase. Okay? Everybody can see it. You're walking down the street. So let's say you're walking down the street and you have, I don't know, $100.
Okay.
Okay. You're walking. Everybody sees you have 100. And then let's do 200. Okay. 300. Let's say 1,000. That's looking more tempting, right? To steal it from you.
Sure.
But how about 2,000? How about 20,000? See, now it's getting kind of dangerous. How about 50,000? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Now you have equity in the house. It's worth $500,000. Okay. Now you're carrying a briefcase with $250,000. Okay. Now $500,000. You see how it's getting more tempting? And let me tell you what, the person that can steal it from you can steal it from you legally and just take half, and there's no repercussions. See, if you're walking down the street and somebody steals it from you, they can get put in jail.
If they're found.
If they're found or whatever, right? But if somebody can say, anybody can take anybody's briefcase, but you're going to only take half, and you have that opportunity all the time. Or you can let it grow. I was like, let me get it to 1 million. Let me get it to 200 million. Now it sounds like an episode from Beast Games, right? So it's like the more and more they go, the more temptation is. That's how marriage is. So when you're 43 and you're making average 80,000, that's average. If you're making more than average, you're making $100,000, $200,000, and you probably be like, oh, I never make that much money. You're underestimating yourself sometimes.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So now you are net worth $5 million. Mm-hmm. You're really a briefcase with $5 million, and you're tempting her to leave your ass and take half and not deal with your shit.
Mm-hmm. This goes into also too, like a lot of men when they're young in their 30s, they're just starting out. So they meet a woman that they enjoy and they don't think that anything's going to happen down the road. Mm-hmm. They're like, well, I don't really have much, so there's no need for a prenup. There's no need for any sort of precautions because they don't see the empire that they're going to build.
That's right.
So therefore, they don't protect themselves on the front end. Mm-hmm. And then, like you say, 10, 13 years down the road, that briefcase starts filling up and it's looking real good, and the man has no protection for himself.
That's why I say marriage is not a good risk. It goes, smart men do smart things, and smart men don't take risks that are against them. So getting into a marriage is already a bad risk.
Well, yeah,
and it's really saying, oh, I'm special, I'm going to beat everybody. No.
Mm-hmm. That's an ego game then.
It's an ego game. It's not. Don't do that. Don't put yourself in his way. The art of war is don't get in situations where you can lose. This is a prevention. This is, you win by putting strategy not to lose.
Correct.
Not to show off, guys. A lot of people go in marriage, oh, I'm going to show off, I'm going to show everybody that. No, you're not. Mm-hmm. Who cares? The smart men win by not getting married, guys.
Yep.
Don't put yourself in a situation where they can take advantage
it's like
of you.
If someone told you that you were going to walk out of the house and there was a 56% chance of you dying today, are you going to leave the house? No. So it's like, why do people continue to take those odds?
It's because they believe they have some kind of control.
Because then that's when it's like the ego comes in a little bit and they're like, well, I'll be different. She's different. And so forth and such. They forget about the human nature aspect of it because it's hiding in the background. Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, we tell you all this, and it's like, man, the cost of a wife is really expensive. Yeah, but that's what we're telling you, don't get married. Mm-hmm. So it's like, what's the point of the relationship? I'm saying relationships are worth it under the right conditions. So you have to vet for them properly, and you also have to qualify. Mm-hmm. So the man is only as good as his plan. And his plan is only as good as it gives results. So if you're the man with the plan, that means you're the man with results. And if you have results, that means you're smart enough to know how to get them. Mm-hmm. So that's why I say you got to always pick your girlfriend or the girl as like an employee. You're the boss. You're the CEO of your life. You need to find somebody that helps you. If you have a business, you need to get an employee that produces more than they consume.
Right.
And if you have a star employee, you need to pay them respectively to how much they earn so they stay. Because it's a competitive world out there. If they find a better boss that pays more than you for the same amount of work, they're going to leave your ass.
Right.
And that's what they're always looking for.
So
you need to treat them better, that they're in fear of losing their job because they got a good job. So then they appreciate their job, they appreciate their boss, and they appreciate what's given to them. Mm-hmm. And they gladly work for a company, maybe that doesn't pay them the most, but the employee believes in the mission, and that's the man's plan. Right. If they believe they're on a purpose and mission, they don't mind not getting paid the best because they believe in the plan. They believe in the man. They believe in the purpose. Mm-hmm. And a lot of women will work, a lot of employees will work for the purpose of the job, even though it pays less, because that's what keeps them in there. Mm-hmm. And that's what keeps the star employee from the boss. And that's what keeps a woman and makes her a ride or die kind of girl, because she believes in the plan. Mm-hmm. So if the plan is included in her benefit and your benefit, if you treat an employee, she makes money and to pay herself, then she will stay with them.
Right. It's a win-win. They both are winning.
It's a win-win. Mm-hmm. Because that's how it is. So that's what is synergy. Mm-hmm. You need to have a win-win. So the red flag is if you're in a relationship where the girl is more of a me than a we. Mm-hmm. Look, I want a happy wife, happy life, and I don't care. That's a win. I don't care. Win neutral. Mm-hmm. That means all she cares about winning, and she's neutral if you lose or win. Mm-hmm. Because she's a win-win. She's not going to be concerned about spending money on bullshit that she likes.
Right.
She's like, no, let's not spend that money because that's our money. Mm-hmm. But if she thinks about me, just spend your money on me. I don't give a fuck about you. And some women get to a predatory state where they're like, I don't care how you make it happen. I don't care if you lose. Yeah. As long as I win. So that's not even neutral. That's more on the losing side. And the worst, I don't care. As long as I win and you lose.
I want you to lose. That's usually when the divorce comes in.
And the worst one is being at war with women. And that's they look at it, it's a lose-lose, but they want you to lose more than they did. Yeah. So it's like war. It's like the one that wins is the one that loses less. And sometimes girls go into that, and that's where it's false accusations. I don't give a fuck. I don't care as long as he loses. And that's what you want to get out of. Because remember, the girl that you marry is not the same girl you divorced. People change. And that's what the thing is. Why are you going to put a bet that everything's going to stay the same when there's change is abundant. The person, you're betting that they're not going to change. That's very unlikely. You might change, they might change. And if you guys change in views, you're going to most likely separate. That's why most people separate.
Yeah.
So it's like, why would you put a bet on your future if it costs this much to have a wife?
Yeah.
The cost is too high. The way that things always been is really hard. But you have to accept that the probability of you losing is if you get married.
Right.
Because of those factors. So the best thing to do is you have to stay adaptive. You have to stay in Darwin mode. You have to be flexible. You have to adapt it. What is it like you said? Be water, my friend, or whatever you say?
Yeah, like Bruce Lee.
Yeah, Bruce Lee.
Be water, my friend, because it's very flexible, it's adaptable, and it can take any shape or form, whatever it needs to be.
Right. So the thing is, if she's aligned with the plan, if she likes the plan, she'll be faithful to a plan. She'll be like an employee. So you have to be the man with the plan. So if you don't have much, it's because you haven't become much.
Yet.
So you need, yet. So that's why the better that you get, the more you recognize. That's why I always recommend, if you have a shitty plan and the girl's loyal, that means she adores you. So think about, always pick the one that picks you. Why? Because she's willing to deal with the mistakes with your plan, and she'll recover, she'll go with you because she gets pleasure just being with you.
Right.
So if you have more tolerance for the plan when a girl adores you, if she doesn't adore you, she's going to be like, hey, you need to get on it because it's me, not we. Somebody that adores you is a we. She'll lose with you.
Yeah.
Because she's in it with you.
Now, also, this isn't to scare you into not doing shit for yourself.
Yeah, it is to scare you. Don't get married.
No. But this, what I'm saying is they're going to be like, well, I'm not going to make much of myself because then if I do get married, she's not going to take shit. So I'm saying don't use this as an excuse to not still improve yourself. Just don't fucking get married.
Exactly.
That's
So,
what I'm
you're
saying.
still living your life. Enjoy yourself. But to enjoy yourself, you need to become more.
Absolutely.
Because you need health, guys. I don't care who you are. So just work on your health. And then you can work on your wealth so you can live comfortably, you can enjoy life. And you can still date, guys. I'm not saying that you don't be against women. I'm just saying don't get married to them.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. The only reason they want to marry you is they want to have an insurance plan to take half of your shit if life doesn't go their way.
Yep.
That's basically it.
Pretty much.
Okay?
All right.
Thank you. If you find this useful, share it with somebody. Tell us what you think. Put your comments so that other people can see them.
And learn from your wisdom.
Or your pain. And then we can spread the word. Thank you.
Thank you.